All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our lightning demos, shipping internal tools with less and less engineering overhead. I will go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Great. My name is Vasundhara. I'm a growth marketing manager at Retool and your host for today. So we put this webinar together to showcase how Retool helps companies ship internal apps fast and save a ton of engineering time. The apps developed support business critical teams from marketing and merchandising at LBB to restaurant promotions at DoorDash. Today, I'm joined by developers and product leaders at some of our customers, DoorDash, LBB, and Pepper Content. Everybody that we hear from today has recently used Retool to launch brand new product lines or build internal tools from scratch. Also, Ryan from Team Retool is here to show how we use Retool at Retool to support sales and success. Our agenda for today is 10-minute presentations from each guest, followed by Q&A, where you'll have plenty of time to ask any questions. We'll end promptly at 11. The event is being recorded and will be emailed to everybody that has RSVP'd. So if you have questions at any time, please use the Q&A feature in the bottom navigation bar. Note that this is different than the chat feature. We prefer that you use the Q&A feature, as it helps us keep a track of your questions. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Yuma, a software engineer at DoorDash. DoorDash is a company that needs no introduction. Their name is synonymous with food delivery in the US. As you can imagine, though, DoorDash has several complex operational processes, with the engineering team building internal tooling to manage restaurants, customers, and of course, drivers. So today, Yuma will give us a peek behind the curtains of this iconic company. Yuma, take it away.
Thank you, Vasundhara. Let me share my screen. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Yuma Tsaboy, and I'm a software engineer at DoorDash. Today, I'm here to talk about how we use Retool at DoorDash. Here are the topics that I'd like to share with you today. First, I'd like to introduce ourselves, who we are and what we do, and then get into the timeline of our adoption of Retool. Then I'd like to get into the challenges that we were facing initially that triggered our adoption, and then demo a couple of apps that helped us navigate through these challenges. And then finally, I will conclude with the major wins that we were able to achieve with Retool. So who are we? DoorDash builds a logistics platform that facilitates last mile deliveries in the most efficient manner possible, connecting consumers, merchants, and drivers. We are a company based in San Francisco in US. Today, we make up 56% of the US food delivery market share, 60% of US convenience delivery market share, and we're expanding to international markets like Canada, Japan, and Australia, and also expanding to new industries like grocery and pharmacy. Engineering in DoorDash, we work on scaling the real-time delivery system to an international scale. Some of the challenges that we've been facing have been to hire faster and faster to keep up with the business growth, while preserving high ownership and autonomy in teams and individual, which is the cornerstone of DoorDash engineering culture. Our adoption of Retool, it has been an interesting story so far. DoorDash engineering first learned about Retool through a demo by the Retool CEO, David Su himself in 2017. That was the first time we had discussion on whether DoorDash should invest in Retool, what our challenges were at the time, and resources that would take for or to make Retool available to at a company-wide level. In 2019, Retool platform was made accessible to all teams to develop internal tools with. Product teams dabble with it as they saw fit, and 2 years fast forward to today, Retool has become the home of all internal tools for the Drive team, who now boasts more than 40 internal tools on the Retool platform. Funny thing is that also today, it's DoorDash demoing Retool back to Retool this time. So it's funny how things all come back in circles. So the challenges that were faced by the Drive team, first of all, Drive team works on Drive API, which is DoorDash's B2B API solution. And the team is composed of about 30 backend engineers. In this team's case, engineering hours were being wasted on making manual interventions, such as writing one-off scripts to handle customer inbounds. The front-end resource was very limited on the team because of the nature of the product, which is an API. And the low overhead costs to learn Retool were the main reasons that drove their aggressive adoption. So at DoorDash, we push hard for operational excellence. And I would like to share some of the tools the Drive team made using Retool to help ensure that operators have the right tools for the task at hand. The first app that I'd like to show is our partnership app. Partnership here means contracts. And so operators and account managers uses this tool to maintain contracts with our restaurants. Food delivery is a operation-heavy process that could go wrong in many ways. Our operators ensure great user experience by making manual interventions with this tool whenever there are errors with our automated systems. I'm going to open the app and let's see. And also another thing to add is that this is one of our central administration apps that allows operator support in real time. And so this is one of our biggest applications of our Retool. And so first thing that you'll notice in this app is that we have a login button. These were implemented to control access to sensitive data. And we were talking about contract in this case. So it's really important that we restrict who can access these tools. The UI is relatively simple. You can add the ID of a business. So I have a test business here that I could demo with. And it fetches the configurations that are saved in our backend. I can make edits as I want to. So in this case, let me increase the maximum delivery distance that's possible for a restaurant, let's say, to 7,000 meters, 7 kilometers radius. And then I would hit update in order to see that my updates were applied in the backend. We have grown this tool by adding new tabs in order to make this kind of operation on different sets of configuration, and also to make these kind of operations in bulk. With the partnership app, operators are empowered to correct any misconfigurations that may occur due to systematic error or customer inbounds. And this also reduced their reliance on engineering. So another app that plays a big role in our business is the promotion app. Promotion is a powerful way for restaurants to increase their sales. A marketing team uses this app to run promotions at any scale, from small to nationwide, based on the request from restaurants. For this tool, this tool follows a request approval flow. And so we have one tool to make requests to create promotions, and another to approve those requests. So here I will open up the request creation tool for promotion. And here, as you can see, access is limited by user again, and users can enter a title. So let's say Retool demo. I will set it to a date that's in the future. Let's say April 11 of next year to April 12 of next year. Who they are for. This is a test ID that I have ready. And users can fill in these inputs. Let's see, test. Input date negotiated today. And they would click submit in order to create that request. Users can view it by typing when that promotion is going to be applied. So let's put April 11 to 12 again. In order to see that that request has indeed been created. And then there's another side to this app, which is the approver flow that I discussed earlier. That one I cannot share due to compliance reasons because it would share all the requests that's made today in production. But that tool will be used by accounting to make sure that that promotion is indeed approved and applied. So with the promotion app, operators can ensure that the restaurants have a way to do business or a way to do marketing when doing business with DoorDash Drive. And finally, I'd like to talk about the wins we achieved with Retool. Firstly, we were able to create internal tools very easily. Its shallow learning curve had our backend engineers spinning up UIs very quickly, and this reduced the load on hiring because we didn't explicitly need to hire for front-end resources. We also found that the version control and permission control in Retool helped scale the usage of Retool along with the team growth. Secondly, we were able to save engineering hours. We were able to decouple engineers from operational tasks by providing operators a self-serve tool. And this allowed engineers to focus on engineering and operators to focus on operations. And most importantly, we were able to further maintain operational excellence by increasing the operator's autonomy and helping them move faster. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Yuma, for that great overview of Retool in the Drive team at DoorDash. It's been awesome to be such long-term partners. But up next is LBB. Dhruv is both the co-founder and product lead at LBB, a platform for small local businesses to sell products online to millions of Indian customers. LBB also enables customers to run ads and promote content on their website. Dhruv is going to demo how the apps he built in Retool support LBB's merchandising and marketing teams in their day-to-day. So Dhruv, take it away.
Great. Thanks so much, Vasundhara. Lovely to be here. Big fan of Retool and been using it for a long time. So this is super exciting for us to be able to present how we use Retool. Before we get started, just a little bit about LBB. Like Vasundhara said, we're a marketplace for small businesses and brands to get discovered. We really help the long tail of Indian merchants get online, get discovered for the first time, and sell their products, very similar to how Etsy does in the US. And for customers to really find and shop different. Today, we have over 2 million monthly active users. We have over 3,000 businesses selling on the platform, many of them for the first time going online, over 200,000 SKUs. We really try to focus at LBB on giving customers delight through discovery. So helping them find brands and find products that they've never really seen before through great curation, great personalization, and great visual merchandising, which we'll talk a little bit about in one of the demos that I'll do. And on the merchant side, we really focus on a DIFM approach, which is a do-it-for-me approach, which of course means that we take on a lot of the heavy lifting for, when it comes to merchants and merchant operations. And for that, Retool's been invaluable in actually building apps and making that happen. So when you're a startup at an early or mid stage, what you really see, particularly if you're in marketplaces or doing something with offline, moving atoms with the bits, you've got lean teams and you've got lots of ops. At LBB, we've got 3 folks on marketing and VM. We need to keep it fresh every day, keep people coming back, keep people excited about new categories and new products that are launching. We've got 4 folks onboarding merchants, and we've got thousands of merchants signing up, particularly after the pandemic. We've seen businesses want to go online like never before, and it's been fantastic. But of course, we want to do it with tech and tools instead of just having more and more people on onboarding. And with finance, the folks who run the backbone of many companies, they've got thousands of payouts and to do every week, every day, and not to mention the regulations, particularly in India, that keep changing every day as well. So, how do you actually balance this, and how do you actually make it happen when you're really growing fast and you want to focus really on growth, on product development, and not necessarily on just solving for the ops? What we really asked ourselves was, how do we build tools that adapt as fast as ops evolve? How do you make space for whatever you're building for your internal teams to actually build with them, work with them, and let them actually be much greater participants in those tools and apps? And secondly, how do we ensure that our engineering teams are really focused on long-term problem solving, right? So they're not getting too bogged down in, changing a button here and there, changing workflows every day, but are really free to focus on what adds value, what adds scale, and what adds really great customer and merchant delight. And for that, Retool came into the picture. Retool, I actually started using to scratch my own itch when I was trying to get something done. Didn't have somebody to help me out to do it, even though I'm the founder, nobody listens to me. And, people are working on what adds value, not what adds value to me, which is good. But, I think the first app I built, I was just trying to get a creative change on one part of our product. And I think from there, it kind of proliferated our whole organization. So today there's a saying at LBB where there's a will, there's a retool app. So if you have a will to learn and you want to really ramp up, it doesn't matter if you're in product ops business or if you're an engineer, you can really learn and actually get a retool app built. And almost every team has 1, 2, or 3 apps running for them. An onboarding team has a separate app for merchant info management and catalog moderation running on Retool. Our finance teams use Retool apps for reconciliation and ledger entries. Been super useful, particularly when tax rules change and you want to quickly be able to adapt what you're using in your ledgers, as well as for error detection. They have Retool apps. Our marketing and VM teams, what we're going to show them in a bit on the demo, they use it for offer management and collection management. And our logistics teams, use them for pin code management and hyperlocal logistics management. Super useful, particularly in these times when we've had, shutdowns in certain areas and having to adapt really quickly to what we can actually execute on. What I'll show you today is a demo of one of these apps, which is used by our visual merchandising VM teams. For those of you who may not have worked in e-com or marketplaces, VM is just the folks who actually make sure that when customers come to your product, they come to different categories to your homepage. They see fantastic stuff. They see new offers, they see new banners, they'll see what's launching, so on and so forth. So we use Magento in the backend. One of the rules of Magento is you don't tell people you use Magento, but it is great for what it does, even though it is a little bit dated in how the interface works. So when our VM teams were using Magento, if you can see the screenshots, what they used to have to do was really dive into our taxonomy, which was very, very deep, and really create these blocks of content. They didn't know what they were putting in and how it was showing. So what you see is not what you get at all in Magento. And you had to do a lot of coding to add any new content block, right? So any new content block that you were building on any part of your native app or your web app, you had to actually enable in Magento in the backend as well. And it was quite cumbersome to be doing this. So not only were the ops teams frustrated, the engineering teams also didn't really have a great experience trying to manage this. The second one, which was really tricky, was when you were trying to showcase certain products and you wanted to highlight them in certain areas of your app. You had to rank them, right? And ranking them didn't just actually enforce a rank on one part of your product, but actually, unfortunately, proliferated to any other part, be it search or browsing somewhere else. So again, very tricky to manage. Of course, we could solve it with engineering, but just kept leading to more and more things to build more and more moderation. So what we actually did was we leveraged Retool and we said, we know that we're going to be changing how our interfaces work. We know we want to be able to be adapting content to data. And we know we want to move fast as trends change, as people adapt, and as customers change what they want. So we built a demo, and I'm going to show you a demo of the VM app that we built in Retool. It's a quick video that I'll quickly walk you through. Hopefully, you guys can see it clearly. So this is our VM manager app, and this is, there's a bunch of sections which I'm going to show you, but it essentially shows you lots of different sections that you can change on our platform. So I'll walk you through, this is a skincare category on LBB with lots of products. Let's say there are some filters, right? So you want your customers to be able to find certain things by a specific type of skin or face concerns. So our VM team can actually jump into that category. They can show the VM, and we obviously alert through a nice nifty Retool pop-up. They can say, oh, I forgot to add a title, right? Let me add a title to this section. They can add that title really quickly, and they can hit add title to set it up. And they can also go and add any other type of attribute that they want customers to be able to browse and filter by. So here they want to, add a filter for lip concern. They can do that, put in a thumbnail, and right there, set the sequence and update it right there. If they hit update category, obviously it rolls out to production. There's a little bit of caching, but then it goes out. And that allows it to show up right here. I didn't show you the whole workflow because I don't know what I do on production, but that's how it would work out. Another area is highlighted products. So these 2 products that you just saw, you can control those. So folks in our team can actually just browse to any product, grab the ID, what they're seeing is what they're setting up, so they don't have to do any guesswork. They can say, hey, I want to highlight this product. I want to highlight it on, the 5th or the 6th position. Set it up right here. Again, if they hit update category, it would start showing up in the highlighted products area on this category, which is here where it says most popular. So this is just like a quick, lightning demo of how we actually use this app and how we allow folks to both understand what they're doing, see it live in production. And as the page evolves, which obviously frequently does as you respond to conversion, you respond to what customers want, so does our Retool app. And it's seamless, it's fast, and it's super easy for the VM teams to actually do it themselves and get better and better every time. What's coming up with our usage of Retool? What we're really excited about, right, is one of the biggest missing pieces today is data visualization being integrated into our tool. So Retool has great components for charts that you can get in. So today, instead of an ops person, looking at a, maybe a Google Data Studio or something else to figure out what they want to do, to figure out what they want to change, we want to bring that into Retool so it's right in front of them. Today they're having to juggle between maybe 2 places. We can all bring it in into one place and centralize it. We want to also take some of our apps and actually make them a little bit more robust and reduce redundancy and make them multi-step or multi-page apps. So like I said earlier, because our teams have become so used to using Retool, there's a lot of apps that do a lot of the same things. There's apps for almost every person. And there's a lot of scope available to actually make them into more consolidated multi-page apps for the use of the team. And then finally, reusable components and query library usage. So I think this is one of the most under-leveraged things by us, and not for any other reason, but something that we didn't focus on early. I think I call it our own internal Retool debt that we need to pay off. But it's essentially building common components that do very similar functionality, maybe querying, like in DoorDash's case, querying for a customer, querying for a restaurant. In our case, maybe querying for certain categories of products that can be used on various apps throughout the Retool platform. So this is something interns actually were working on in the summer, and we're starting to build up a library, and also with queries, right? So you don't have to actually repeat queries, and you can reuse them in different places. A lot of the common queries can be done that way. This was actually a really fun summer project. If you folks have interns, it's really useful for them to also get insight into how Retool apps are built and really build the smaller building blocks than your organization can use. So super useful and something that we're working on getting integrated into our Retool apps over time. Awesome, lovely being here. If you're in India, shop on LBB, support small businesses via LBB, and give me feedback. I'm at DX Mathur on Twitter. You can always hit me up if you want, if you have any questions, you want to talk more about Retool or generally marketplaces. And thanks a lot for the opportunity, guys. This has been fantastic.
Well, thank you, Dhruv. It's been great to hear how many people in your org are empowered at building in Retool. And I actually think visual merchandising is a great and underrated use case for Retool. Since we're halfway through the demos, just a reminder that questions can be sent in using the Q&A feature in the bottom bar. You can actually direct questions to any of the panelists and they'll answer it live at the end. And if you have any Retool specific questions, our engineer Devin is on the call and would be happy to answer them. With that, our next speaker for today is Rohit, who leads product at Pepper Content. Pepper Content is the world's largest content marketplace, trusted by thousands of brands for their content needs. Rohit's career in product across iconic startups such as Freshworks and now Pepper Content has given him a bird's eye view into the role of software in enabling engineering to scale fast. I'm excited for him to show us what he's built. Rohit, please lead the way.
Thanks a lot, Vasundhara. I think we're the youngest in this cohort of Retool users, and I'm actually learning so much from Yuma and Dhruv on what all we could really build at Pepper Content. But yeah, let's get started. So Pepper Content today uses Retool to onboard creators, among lots of other things. And I'm going to be showing you how we do this. Just before this, I'm Rohit. I'm one of the product folks at Pepper Content. The team of engineers and product managers have really adopted Retool in our day-to-day lives. I'm excited that a few of our engineers are also on this call watching this, so that's pretty cool. So what does Pepper Content do? We're actually building the world's largest content marketplace, which connects freelancers and businesses over 3 content categories. That's content writing, design, and translation services. So you can actually, if you're looking for emailer designs or posters or even blogs and articles, we do that at very high quality and at affordable prices as well. We've worked with over 1,000 brands, which are iconic brands across the world. And yeah, it's growing really, really fast. So I think one part of the big problem that Pepper Content faces is, since we work with a very large number of creators and we've got to evaluate them really well, uh, it becomes a problem because we have to do it fairly, objectively, and at scale. To give you some perspective, almost 45,000 creators have applied to be a part of Pepper. They go through multiple rounds of evaluation, and overall, we have about 4,000 creators that work with us. Now, these evaluation rounds are automated to an extent, but we also have human intervention where somebody really has to evaluate if the creator is worthy to be part of the Pepper platform or not. And that obviously can become a challenge as you have to do an increasing number of creators almost every single month. So before Retool, we were using a combination of Zoho CRM and our homegrown operations portal to onboard creators. So we were using these lengthy forms, building each and every component on our own. It worked out quite well for us, but we were obviously running into some scale challenges. We obviously didn't want to spend time maintaining this. We needed to roll out features really fast, and maintaining, squashing bugs was just too time taking. Whenever we needed to add a new category, so after content writing, we went to design. We would have to rebuild almost all of this over again. And that, I mean, engineering time is scarce, and I didn't want to use developers for that. Also, we had two systems, Zoho and our database, which needed to stay in sync. And I think all the engineers on this call will understand that sync issues not nice to deal with. So we actually implemented Retool sometime around March, when we retired both the CRM and our onboarding tool to be replaced by Retool. We started it for writer onboarding, and now we have all of our onboarding modules on Retool. Let me show you how it actually looks today. So this is like our large table where we have all of the information about the different creators who apply to be a part of our portal. We use a ton of filters. This helps our onboarding team very quickly figure out who are the creators we want to onboard first. And to show you how the evaluation actually goes, let me show you a quick video. So given, say, a creator who's logged in, I can see all of the basic details, the profile details given, their work samples that they've uploaded onto our system. I can click on these links and even view their resume. Now, all of this is happening with Retool connected to our database. We also see the tests that they've given and the actual content of the tests that they've written. So an evaluator will actually go through the brief that was given to them, read the content copy that they created. And based on these details, now start to evaluate them based on what industries can they work on, what content types are they great at. And we've done this very simple interface of thumbs up, thumbs down, or he's just brilliant at it. We give them a quality score. And if we like them, we'll click on onboard. All of our email notifications, etc., are plugged in. So the end-to-end flow from a creator coming in, us evaluating and onboarding or rejecting them can actually happen from within Retool itself. Now, this obviously being a very, very quick flow helps us onboard a ton of creators on a monthly basis. Sorry. Yeah. So in fact, operational efficiency is definitely become super cool. So in July alone, we evaluated almost 5,000 creator profiles between 3 people on our onboarding team. So we've got one designer, one content writing lead, and one editing lead who's basically onboarded all of these creator profiles in the last month. So PepperType is our online AI content writing assistant. And for that, we've actually released more than 15 of our content types in the last 30 days with just one product manager building and pushing stuff through Retool. Also, I think the one feature that all of our onboarding team tends to love is the confetti. Every time we onboard a new creator, gives us a sense of satisfaction saying, okay, this is a job well done. So what do we love using in Retool? Obviously, tables and queries. These form almost the heart of all of our apps. We use scripting very heavily. And the part that we love about Retool is almost every single text box or element is configurable using syntax highlighting and markdown support. So we're able to build out tools and apps really, really fast. In fact, every time we've thought that, hey, this is something that can't be built on Retool and we might need a custom component, we were actually able to conjure a combination of multiple components, build it in a container, and that kind of worked for us. And once we started building some tools in Retool, it just kept going on and on and on. In fact, we keep adding more use cases to Retool every time now. So we've stopped building internal tools as much. And all of our peripheral tools end up going to Retool almost automatically. And we do this because of four main things. One is, once you have a base app, replicating modules becomes super duper easy. I can just do this copy paste thing across apps, and I'm able to move things really fast. We use versioning, so nothing really breaks. And access control keeps everything neat. So for all of our data across various different onboarding, the people who are onboarding, we can keep their access control limited to the data that they need to see. Most importantly, the thing that I love the most is product folks can really go in and tinker without needing too much of an engineering help, which lets us also keep building upon these Retool use cases more and more. So yeah, that's us. Thanks a lot. We've been fans of Retool since we've started working on it. Happy to answer any questions. And you can hit me up at Jumbled on Twitter or the teams at Pepper Content. Thanks.
Thank you, Rohit. The scale of operational processes you're automating is actually pretty astounding. So thanks for sharing that demo. Our last speaker for today is Ryan, a deployed engineer at Retool. Here at Retool, our mission is to help engineers ship internal apps fast. We use Retool internally to enable all of our teams, and Ryan's dashboard is critical to our customer success team. So I'll let him share more. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hey everyone, my name is Ryan. I'm a deployed engineer here at Retool, and we're a tool for developers to build their internal tools. So my team is a customer success team, and we're in charge of empowering our hundreds of enterprise customers to build their mission critical applications in much faster time than they could in traditional software development. And on the success team, our job is basically to help our customers succeed. So what exactly do we do? Success creates champions and builds relationships by driving value for our customers. So each member of our team assists around 15 to 20 of our enterprise customers. And in order to do our job really well, we need to understand who to talk to, what our customers are looking to build, and any feedback they have for our product. And all in all, we just want to know everything there is to know about our customers. So who are they? Retool is such a flexible product that our customers span nearly every industry, from CPG to fintech to education to other tech companies, and obviously all the companies that spoke before me today. And the size of these companies can vary pretty drastically as well. Some are large Fortune 500 companies, others are all the way down to 5 to 10 person startups that are extremely scrappy. And essentially, if you need internal tools, you're going to be a potential customer of ours. And with such a wide variety of use cases and contexts from customer to customer, it's actually quite a difficult problem to make sure that our success members are empowered to understand all the data that they need to help solve our customers' problems and help them be successful on the platform. So what are some of the metrics that we look at? Well, at a high level, we want to understand a whole bunch of different data across different axes. So usage, relationships, value, and risks. So even though that usage is the most direct and obvious metric, we also want to know who we're working with, why they're using Retool, what are they building, and if there's any concerns that have been coming up. And fundamentally, as our customer base continues to grow, centralizing this customer data into one place becomes imperative. Instead of relying on disparate spreadsheets or ad hoc conversations or knowledge in our heads, or maybe a random SQL query here or there, we want to have a central database and central location to retrieve the data that we need. And at Retool, we obviously use a lot of Retool ourselves, and this was a perfect use case for our product, so I went ahead and built it. Let's dive right into it. So this is our account health and account growth dashboard. So a couple of caveats here is that all of the numbers here are randomly generated, so they don't reflect any of our customer data or anything like that. So at the top and at the macro level, you can see at a glance the holistic picture of how Retool's business is doing. So you can view the top growers and shrinkers from last week, and these are accounts that might warrant additional investigation. So on the left-hand side for the growers, These are accounts that are doing really well this week. Maybe they have a new use case, maybe they have a new team onboarding. Either way, we want to know about it because that helps us inform our decision making. On the right-hand side for shrinkers, these are accounts that aren't doing so hot. So maybe they have been really frustrated with the product, or potentially they've made some decisions in the back room that we want to know about. And so that way we can guide them through the process and make sure that we're on the same page in terms of their decision making. So scrolling down to the bottom here, this table consists of all of our enterprise customers, and we can quickly sort through ARR, their different version numbers, when they're created. And a couple of things here is that this gives us a really easy way to have quick insight into how customers are doing. So if they're on an older version of Retool, let's say 2.66, they're actually missing out on a whole bunch of features that we have released in the last 4 months. And so that gives me an immediate action item in my accounts to then follow up with them. So let's say I'm using this application. I'm going to filter for my accounts. So I can go ahead and do that. Like I said, you can quickly see which accounts you might want to remind to bump the version for. But on the right-hand side, you can see their compounded monthly growth rate over the last 12 months. And this is really useful because it helps tell a story on how the account is doing. So some of these accounts might be growing really healthily over the last year, but might be experiencing a dip in usage. And so those are accounts that I want to look into. On the other hand, it's always a great feeling to see an account that has historically not been doing so well that in the last month has actually boosted a lot. And you can see the efforts of your work. So for some of these concerning accounts, let's say I actually want to dig in and see what's going on. So I would click into one of these accounts to get a breakdown view. And if you remember earlier, the different axes of questions, usage, who to talk to, what they're building, this breakdown view actually helps us analyze and understand some of those questions. So the first one is usage, and this is the most important one because it's a direct, it's the most directly causal metric to our overall revenue. So if I were to go ahead and hide this app saves chart here, this account at first glance is actually extremely healthy. From a users and monthly active user standpoint, and as well as page loads, this account has been growing every single month of the last 12 months, and it peaked last month. So if I were just to purely look at usage statistics, this would be an incredibly good account. But what building this dashboard allowed us to do was understand that this actually isn't the whole picture. Instead of looking at lagging indicators, which are typically monthly active users, we actually wanted to get ahead of the curve and look at leading indicators. And the best one that we found was actually app saves, which is, if you think about it, building activity. So every time they make a change in application and they save the page. And what we noticed historically is that peaks in app saves actually corresponded with peaks in monthly active users and page loads 6 months later. So when they built a lot in September 1st of last year, that corresponded with a Q1 bump in 2021. And likewise, a lot of what we're seeing nowadays in terms of this recent peak is actually because of a lot of building going on in March. And this makes sense because when you have a lot of builders building new applications, it takes some time for other folks in the company to start getting used to those workflows and for them to notice these applications are there. So going back to the main point, even though this account looks really good from a lagging indicator standpoint, this account actually doesn't look so hot from a leading indicator standpoint. And this lets me know that I should spend some time this week meeting with the builders and answering their questions and seeing if we can brainstorm how to bring up that building activity and maybe build more apps on Retool. So now that I have that hypothesis, what do I do with it? Well, the natural next step is to reach out to someone at the customer and see what's going on. And so here's our top builders. And these are a list of top 20 builders, including their email, the number of saves that they had, as well as their most recent save and most recent activity. So let's say a top builder actually hasn't been active in months. That lets me know that maybe, hey, they changed teams or there's something else going on there, and I should probably reach out to get the full picture. On the other hand, there might be a new builder that's been building very actively recently, and that's also a great person to reach out to see if I can give them some help, some guidance as they build their Retool applications. Finally is what they're building. And here on top apps, we can see a list of all the applications that are currently there on Retool. And by looking at this breakdown view, we can get a sense of what they're using Retool for. And one useful thing as a success member is to cross-compare between companies in my portfolio that are similar in scope and use case, and see if there's any cross seeding that we can do. So, hey, Jira management is really popular at this technology company. Maybe we can see if this other company would be interested in it. So it helps us come to these meetings prepared with additional ideas for use cases that might not be there currently. So what's next for this dashboard? We're constantly looking on building on this dashboard, and obviously Retool is flexible enough to where we can do that really quickly and easily. So what we're thinking about next is adding NPS scores from our customer surveys, integrating with our Salesforce data to get a better picture of the pre-sales to post-sales process, as well as adding customer sentiment through emails and call interactions. Ultimately, Retool is an incredibly flexible and powerful tool that allows all of its users, including us at Retool, to creatively address their business problems with customized solutions. So we can leverage our own domain knowledge, explore our data, and create dashboards to suit our questions and needs in a matter of days to answer our top of mind questions. That's it. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I love how you shared using the Plotly library within Retool to chart data and specifically to separate between leading and lagging indicators. Thank you to all the speakers for the incredible demos. We'll quickly move on to Q&A. So I see some great questions coming in already, but for all the other attendees, you can use the Q&A feature in the bottom navigation bar. And if your question is for a specific speaker, please use their name and I can direct the question to them. So with that, I will quickly start hopping into some of the questions that we said we would answer live. So Devin, Javi asks, do you connect directly to the database for updates? Use GQL?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this. I believe this might have been for a specific speaker as well. Both are available inside of Retool, so you can connect directly to a database, or you can connect via GraphQL or via a REST API endpoint.
Awesome. I see another question from Javi for Dhruv. So Dhruv, when you say you port duplicate apps into the main apps, how do you handle that? Do you just change to using that duplicate as the main new app, or is there a way to merge them?
We do both. I mean, we don't, so merging, I think what Rohit was saying, we can kind of copy components over. And sometimes when we're kind of making a pretty drastic change or doing something from scratch, we just switch people to using that app. So honestly, it just depends on like what level of changes we're making and doing that. I don't know if, I never tried to like do some, I don't know if there's a specific retool functionality that allows, you to take one app and do something else apart from what Rohit said, like just copy components over. But we kind of either do that or just ask people to start using the new one. So yeah, it's pretty hacky that way.
And please feel free, any of the other panelists, to jump in into the questions if there's something you want to share. So this one, I think we can take turns at answering, but to the panelists, do you ever prototype an app in Retool, but then move it to a more classic web application? Have you had that experience?
Maybe I'll take that. I've never really needed to. I think we've always thought that if this goes beyond control, we'll probably move. But I think it's always scaled. In fact, what we're trying to do now is we do a quick prototype on paper or something and then build it on Retool. And I think it's really nice that you can actually even start prototyping or starting to build in Retool itself and see how the app evolves over time. In fact, all of our apps started as small things and then we kept adding onto it and they became really beautiful on Retool. And I think that's how it's been. So we've not done that so far, but yeah, you, Madhru, what do you guys think?
Yes, at DoorDash, with Drive Team in particular, we haven't had this case yet. I don't foresee a case like this yet unless there's some sort of move within the company to make some sort of standardization across all teams. But I believe that still Retool will have its place in being able to spin up UIs very quickly, which helps with us to experiment new features quickly.
Yeah, I think with particularly with internal tools, we avoid it actively to do that. We try and get more people from web apps into Retool. But I think when you do, if you do something that maybe needs more consumer scale, um, from a cost perspective, that may be something you need to move to a web app. So if you're building an app that you're not necessarily only using for internal users, but you're going to like let out in the wild. I'm not sure. I may be misspeaking. Maybe Devin or Vasundhara can correct me, but I think on the viewer side, I don't think it's like that publicly open that anybody can use it.
Awesome, thank you, Dhruv, Rohit, and Yuma. Ryan, a question for you from Conrad. What sort of data stores do you use for the account growth app?
Yeah, that's a great question. We pull in data from a bunch of different sources. So we have customer data coming in from many different sources that we have an ETL pipeline that stages it into our BigQuery database. So most of the direct queries are from BigQuery, but it's passed through from other data sources. And then the other main data sources are Salesforce data, SFDC queries. So we take our customer data from Salesforce and we're able to merge it in with our existing analytics workloads.
Thanks, Ryan. I see a data engineering question here. So panelists, do you use Retool? Do you connect Retool to read from a database backend and write to the backend via an API? Do you do reads from or writes to the database, or do you read from the data warehouse and write back to the backend database, which gets synced via an ETL or ELT tool? Looks like there were some options there. Do you guys do either of those three?
All of the above. Depends. The answer. So I think so we use REST APIs for some cases, which are like where we may have like internal validations or more sensitive areas where we want some amount of like app control. We'll read and write to databases on less like mission critical data, on stuff. Yeah, because again, Retool like, and the context being that, like I said, we're trying to adapt quickly. That means you should be kind of flexible with if there's some errors, and particularly if you use it the way we do, which is like allowing more and more people to use it, right? So it's not like everything's going through a code review process. So we do read and write for less mission critical data for some stuff that maybe purely internal operations use. And then I think the ETL data warehousing stuff is more relevant for certain areas where potentially we have an output or a data or an analytics platform relying on a separate data warehouse from what the Retool app is using. So I think the answer is all of them. I think we can do all of Retool allows for all and more. So I think it's just very like context and use case driven for us at least. I don't know if Yuma or Rohit, if you guys have had different experiences.
I could say same for DoorDash. I think it's a combination of all of these. For us, we moved towards having a architecture, something like a backend for front ends. So Retool is hooked up only via APIs, but it's behind it that does all the wiring up to warehouses, different type of data sources.
Yeah, I think exactly the same for us. I even wrote it there. So while we'll read from directly the database or the API, we write only using the API. Direct writing to the database, we're still finicky about it, and engineers will kill me if I started doing that. But yeah, using an authenticated, authorized API and reading from both the API and the database. Yeah.
Great. I see some compliments for the design on Ryan's app. So if you have any questions for any of the panelists, or you need help on Retool, you can always reach out to us, any of us. We're first name @retool.com, and I believe Ryan is ryan.jiang, so first name last name @retool.com. You can also reach us support@retool, and we're happy to help with anything. Since we have right around 9 minutes left, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share the announcements. So we have some promotions and some announcements from our speakers today. All right, here we go. DoorDash is hiring. So please see the company career page, careers@DoorDash, or you can reach out to Yuma. Pepper Content just launched peppertype.ai. I know Rohit talked about it a little bit in his presentation as well, but it's a virtual content assistant and it generates content ideas for social media, blogs, YouTube videos, and more within seconds. So you can reach out to Rohit for a free usage month, which is incredibly generous. So thanks, Rohit. We've also, on the Retool side, launched Retool Utilities. It's a hub of dev tools, so ranging from a regex generator to writing mock data to PostgreSQL. It's meant to make app building easier and faster. And actually, the link there is retool.com/utilities. So I can send that over, but it's just retool.com/utilities. And our next lightning demos are going to be September 15th at 10 a.m. PT. So as always, you can look at learn.retool.com, which will be updated shortly. Awesome. I'll give everyone here some time back. It was really great to see all of you, and thank you for showing up to our lightning demos. We'd love to see you again. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Bye.